Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I want to talk about some top head coaching candidates that the Washington Commanders could hire this offseason. If you guys are new, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button and that notification bell so you never miss a video. And I know some of you guys might think this is way too early, but I think there's a very, very good chance, especially after the Washington Commanders lost to the Seahawks, and it looks like it's going to be tough for them to make the playoffs. I think that Ron Rivera will be fired after this season. Usually, owners like to bring in their own guy, and especially after head coach who's been here for 4 years, and we've made the playoffs once, and that one time we won 7 games. We have not had a winning record under Ron Rivera, and it's going to be very hard for us to do that for the rest of the season with our upcoming schedule. So I would say like a 90+%, probably 95+% chance that Ron Rivera is fired after this season. And I will get into Commanders Giants content later in this week, but a little bit of a slow week. But let's get into some candidates. Let's first talk about Eric Bieniemy, because I know a lot of people want us to hire Eric Bieniemy. I honestly wouldn't mind if we go on a big time losing streak. I wouldn't mind if Washington fired Ron Rivera and gave Eric Bieniemy some a few weeks to see what he can do, show Josh Harris what he can do, because it can give him a little bit of an audition there to show Josh Harris how he's going to run a team and how he's going to run it differently than Ron Rivera. Obviously, it's not giving him the same, he's not going to have time to really implement what he wants to do, usually do that in an off season. So he's not going to get that time, but he can still show some things. So that's why I wouldn't mind if we did fire Rivera in a few weeks. It really doesn't matter at this point. I know some people think there's no reason to fire him, but that is the one reason to fire Rivera, is to see what Eric Bieniemy can do as your head coach. I would 100% interview Eric Bieniemy for the head coaching job, and I would be surprised if they don't. But here's the thing, I still haven't seen enough from him to say he should be our head coach. That doesn't mean I won't see enough from him at the end of this season, but it's been 10 games. It's been 10 games, and he's had some really good games and some really bad games. So I think we got to see a little bit more from him. If he can, continue to show that he can make adjustments and stuff like that, and him and Hal and this offense continues to grow, and he gets our playmakers more involved and, finds creative ways to use guys like Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson, then I think you have to give him a shot for sure. But still, again, it's been a lot of up and down games. We've seen games like the Bills where we scored 3 points in the game. We saw the game against the Giants where we scored 7 points and their defensive line was dominating our offense. So we've seen some bad games and we've seen some good games. Both Eagles games were great. The game against the Seahawks was good as well. And I know a lot of fans want him to run the ball a little bit more, but it is what it is, and get, Terry a little bit more involved. But we've seen some good things from Eric Bieniemy for sure. Again, though, I need to see, the rest of the season. Let's see what he does over the rest of the season. We got, 7 to 8 more games. And, we'll see how he progresses and if he can continue to show that he can make these adjustments and maybe not do what he did against the Giants, where it wasn't working and it took too long to go away from the initial game plan. But yes, Eric Bieniemy will definitely be a guy I think the Commanders look for, unless the new, because they will be hiring, a new general manager and a front office too. So unless the new front office really doesn't like Eric Bieniemy, I think he's going to get interview, but that doesn't mean he's necessarily going to get the job. One guy I think that's definitely a candidate is going to be Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I think his first year was last year, might have been the year before, but he had a really good year last year with the Detroit Lions. He got a bunch of head coaching interviews, and he decided to go back to Detroit, wait for a good opportunity. Well, maybe that's here in Washington. It could be in San Diego. I think Washington will be one of the more attractive options for a head coach. We don't have an amazing offense, but we have a young quarterback on a rookie deal. We're going to have $90+ million in cap space. We're going to have good draft capital. And, it's the first head coach after Dan Snyder, so I have a chance to really, make a change and be a part of a new era. I think that is a little bit attractive. It might not be, again, like the Chargers are probably one because they have Herbert. They've got some good playmakers on offense, and they got some good players on defense as well. I think they would be the number one, spot. But then after that, I think we're number 2 or number 3. So I think we're going to have our pick, from some decent guys. Ben Johnson might go to LA, but I really like Ben Johnson. He's done amazing with the Detroit Lions. Their offense has been really, really good. And that's Jared Goff is a good quarterback, but he's not elite, and their offense has been elite. So to do that with, that quarterback, or with, just those playmakers, it's a really good and encouraging how he's transformed this offense, of the Detroit Lions from what it was to what it is now. I mean, the players are much better than they were, and he's creative as well. You watch it and you're like, that is an offensive coordinator, or I guess head coach that you want. And what I want in a head coach, I want an offensive-minded guy. I also want a younger guy. Doesn't have to be 35, but I would like a guy that's under 50, a guy that's fresh, maybe hasn't had a head coaching opportunity yet, and gets to do it here first, because a lot of the other guys, you kind of know what you're going to get out of them. I do not want us to hire Bill Belichick. I really hope that doesn't happen. We've had a lot of rumors with that. Wouldn't love it. Jim Harbaugh, he's a good coach, and I wouldn't hate the hire. He was a good coach with San Francisco. He's been a great coach for Michigan, but again, a little old. I mean, he's not super old, but he's got to be in his 50s, and I don't know. I'd rather go towards a more younger guy, and a guy that hasn't been a head coach before. So some candidates that they're talking about: Shane Bowen, Thomas Brown for the Panthers. I'm going to pass on him. Like, if it's between Thomas Brown and Eric Bieniemy, I'll take Thomas Brown for sure. He's been calling plays a little bit with the Panthers, but now Frank Reich is taking over. Brian Callahan is an option as well, offensive coordinator with the Bengals, although I don't think he calls plays. He doesn't call plays, so that's one thing you have to watch out for. Sean Desai, I'll pass on him. And see some other guys. Luke Getsy, I'll pass on him. I'm just going through the list. This is from Tom Pelissero talking about some, up-and-coming head coaching candidates. Ben Johnson, that's the guy you want. He's going to be the number one coaching candidate, honestly. And he took over in 2020, and he's done a really good job. Many league sources consider Johnson the most coveted candidate in the hiring cycle. So like I said, some other guys that are, interesting. You got Brian Johnson from the Eagles, played college football at Utah and helped, develop Jalen Hurts, also mentored Kyle Trask and Dak Prescott. Would be interesting, but this is his first year as an offensive coordinator, so it might be a little bit too early for him, but who knows? He's definitely someone to watch out for. Mike Kafka, I'll, pass on him. Mike McDonald. Jared Mayo is interesting. He seems like a kind of a DeMeco Ryans type guy that played in the NFL, was a pretty good player, and then was a defensive coordinator. I mean, I guess he's a linebackers coach and has been doing good. And, you saw what DeMeco Ryans is, what he's been doing in Houston. And, the Belichick tree isn't great, so I'll try to avoid it, but he's definitely solid for sure. Kellen Moore, I'll pass. And then another, Antonio Pierce is a good one. A guy that's been making a lot of, noise is Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, former Michigan Tech Michigan Tech wide receiver, and the son of longtime NFL coach Bob Slowick. He was with Washington in that, I think 2010 and even later when they had Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Matt LaFleur. So they had a lot of guys, but he's been working with the Texans as their offensive coordinator. He's done a really good job with that offense. I mean, CJ Stroud looks like an absolute beast. He's going to win Offensive Rookie of the Year, going to be probably top 5 in MVP, voting at the end of the year. So he's another guy to watch out for sure. He's probably in my top 3. Like my top 1 is Ben Johnson. Then I would probably go Bobby Slowick, and then Eric Bieniemy is 3 or 4. I need to see more from him. You got guys like Frank Smith from the Dolphins, 42. Offensive coordinator, someone to watch out for as well. Press Taylor. Again, I'm looking more for offensive guys and younger guys. So that's kind of it. So yeah, I think that's it for today's video. Kind of random, but I just want to get that, head coaching, talk started a little bit for you guys. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.